And we're back.
What?
It's been a week or
We
so.
exist?
It's been a week or so, but we're here. Hungerford is on a train to Las Vegas, though, so he's not joining us this week. I'm just making up what his travel plans are. I don't really know. So Faye's joining me on
Pretty sure it's
our
not a
dev
train.
stream to talk about Monsterpocalypse. So welcome to the Privateer Press dev chat for the 22nd of January.
Did you remember what day it was?
I have to look. You can see it when Tony doesn't move the screens wrong.
I can't see it.
You can see it. Yeah,
It's
you can
getting
see it on the
blocked
corner.
very slightly.
Yeah.
Just that one corner.
I always have to check because sometimes Tony's notes are wrong. So I check the.
That's a dirty lie. I'm never wrong.
I
Say what the screen shows you.
I know. I do check what the screen shows me. In the bottom corner, the operating system tells me the date and time, so I don't have to rely on human errors. But this is developer chat hangout for January 22nd, 2020. I am Will, also known as Oz, also known as other things.
You're pretty much just known as Oz.
This is Faye.
Hi.
We make games at Privateer Press.
It's
We
true.
also stream, some of us more than others. If you've never watched us before, or you're curious what our current streaming schedule is, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. is almost always development talking to you about making games. Every once in a while that changes, but generally that's what it is. Thursdays is a show about painting. Jordan is not on the show this week because he's also on a slow boat to Vegas. We're going to have some...
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you think there's water?
There's water between here and Vegas. There's rivers.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to have a mix-up of the hosts this week.
That's going to be Tanner and Lauren are
Yeah.
going to be painting up some new models. Each of them are going to have
Yeah.
a brand new model.
So every week you can watch us talk about making rules on Wednesday at 10, and you can watch us paint something Thursday at 10. And then we have a couple of other shows. We have staff showdowns, which are us playing games, some combination of employees at the company playing games. And the next one we're going to do is the 28th, and I think we're moving the canceled Snow Monsterpocalypse game to that date because we were going to play Monsterpocalypse, but we didn't because of snow.
Yeah.
Luckily, the snow's all gone, and it might not come back. So hopefully on the 28th, we're playing Monsterpocalypse. And then we also have a show called Hobby Hangout that's another regular show. It's happening on the 24th, which is a couple days from now. It's this week. And that show is making models, building scratch-built stuff, playing around with terrain, things that don't involve directly painting, but are hobby and building and things focused. So that's our schedule. Take a screenshot of that. Put it on your desktop, memorize it. There won't be a test.
But there's dates on it.
Yeah, but you can refresh it every once in a while.
Okay.
Anyway, we also, if you haven't been paying attention for the last couple of months, we have Twitch subscriptions going. And if you subscribe, you can get the Privateer Press Scully badge next to your name. And you can also use all of our amazing emojis. The ones that we have aren't even all shown on the screen because we have too many. And every once in a while, when we hit a subscription number, like 120 subs, we unlock a new one. So if you have a Prime membership, I say this every time, you have a free Twitch subscription that you have to renew every month. So just go onto Twitch, click the button, and give us your subscription. It's that easy. Mini crates, still going. We just changed over. Just a few days ago, the Iron Kingdoms mini crate. The Transfer Dancer is about to go away also, getting your 2 Transfer Dancers. And Medusonia, a new version of Absalonia, is this month's mini crate. She's holding a Sword Knight head. She's got some snake hair.
I really like that.
She's got some
that model.
weird little legs. Don't even know what's going on there. But yeah, you have the next month to subscribe and get her. You can always do 1 month at a time, but if you do a full 6-month subscription, your next shipment will have the exclusive model in it. So the Transfer Dancer is about to go away if you've been waffling on getting that. So our next mini crate is Legend of the Five Rings, and Hungerford's always here to say the names, but this one isn't so bad. This is Doji Rin. It's a name that doesn't have a lot of syllables, so I can pronounce it safely. And the exclusive until March, or May, is Tengu Sensei, the crow guy you can get as your exclusive model. So you have until February 5th, so you have a few more days to get Doji Ren, and then quite a while on the Tengu Sensei. And then our Savage mini crate has Conan swinging a sword.
Yeah.
We had old Conan sitting around thinking about things.
But this is.
But now we have Conan swinging a sword.
Active Conan.
Younger, more active Conan swinging a sword. And the VIP model switched over for the very first time. It's Red Sonja, so you have a whole lot of time on getting Red Sonja. But Conan's only available till the 12th of February. So we're done with announcements.
Yep.
We're going to talk about February releases for Monsterpocalypse now.
Mm-hmm.
We have all kinds of ninjas coming up.
Ninjas and a few tanks.
Yeah, a little bit of
But
tank
mostly
action,
ninjas.
but mostly ninjas. So I feel like we led off February with a ninja because Incinerus comes out in a few days.
Yep.
Incinerus, I believe, is going to be an LVO pre-release, but don't hold me to that. No promises. You never know. It could be lost on that boat could sink. So Incinerus is coming
still
out
not
really
on a
soon.
boat.
Could be. I don't know. I don't know how Swinkle's booked the travel to Vegas. So this month we've got 2 big giant monsters that are both ninjas, and then we've got a bunch of little stuff, and some of that is also ninjas.
Yeah.
So we're starting with, I believe, the good guys, right, Tony? So Shadow Sun Syndicate on the Protector side is what's releasing this month. And the first thing we're going to show you is the C-type Shinobi. So anybody who played original Monsterpocalypse 10 years ago has seen the C-type Shinobi, and they didn't change in any kind of drastic way because they've always had one job, and that job is to be cargo.
Yeah.
So
And
the
they are
Shinobis
good at it.
are one of my favorite aspects of the game because they're humans. They're just people. They're regular sized.
Yeah.
They put on some sort of outfit, and it makes them different. It nanite transforms them into a larger, slightly metallic humanoid.
Yeah, I imagine that they like have a button on their belt buckle that they press as they're jumping.
They might even hold some sort of thing forward
Okay,
and
wait.
yell a phrase. I don't know. It could happen.
Wait, do you get like colorful
Yeah.
pinwheel behind
Yeah.
them when they do it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Anything's possible. You decide how your Shinobis transform. Anyway, so, and their training process, it takes a lot of mental fortitude and other training to go through this process.
Yeah.
You can't just put on the belt and go, I'm 1,000,000 feet tall.
Sure.
It doesn't work that way. It's very strenuous and stressful, both mentally and physically. So a lot of the rank and file warriors in the faction can only grow so big. And then sometimes they grow to different sizes based on the equipment they're using and that kind of stuff.
I also assume they probably grow before the battle so that they can like get used to being grown.
Yes, they do practice like in the mountains somewhere where no one
Yeah.
can see. But the cool thing about C-types is they can be tiny, tiny people inside of an interceptor, and they can just jump out and push the button and then like do a flip and then land much, much bigger.
I imagine they do a flip while holding down the trigger of their gun and
Possibly.
probably kill a lot of innocent people
Possibly.
just on
It
accident.
can happen. So C-types are Shinobis with rifles. So the S-type is the Shadow Shinobi. So it's all cloaky and punchy. This is the C-type, which stands for cargo, officially. It's the cargo Shinobi.
Cargo type
Yeah.
Shinobi.
And they can ride around inside of interceptors. So this is your second cargo option for the faction. And they have a gun. It's range 4 and they're speed 5, but more importantly, they can pop out of interceptors and then shoot things. So they're fairly mobile in a faction with a lot of mobility.
Yeah.
They have an elite, so this is the grunt version right now, but Tony's going to flip it to the elite card in 1 second. And of course, like all other elites, they give you the commander ability and they have slightly better stats.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about elites for this model, though, is cargo cost 1, so you can drop an elite out of an interceptor by only paying 1 action die for it instead of the standard 2. So that's another powerful reason why these guys don't have an extremely exciting ability set, because you can get them pretty cheap, and if they gang up or if one of them leads an attack against the monster, you can knock power dice off of it.
It
So they
doesn't
can-
happen very often.
So they
but
can,
occasionally.
yes, but it's one of those linchpin, like, I've knocked out your power production, you have 1 power die, you can technically throw me and
Yes.
win the game, and I need to get rid of that power
Yeah.
die. So most of the time, these guys will just be shooting something important, sitting on a PowerPoint or whatever, and maybe appearing to lead an attack against the monster to finish it off. But that power drain can come in handy.
Yeah.
The specialist in this one is the Shadow Rider, which is a brand new model that never existed in the original Monsterpocalypse. And it's another example of the ninjas can dial how big they are.
Right.
The Shadow Riders are slightly smaller than the other Shinobis because they ride around on a hover bike, slashing things with their sword.
Yeah. They're pretty. I love this model. I don't know. I think they're just really cool concept.
Yeah. Well, hover bikes in general are cool.
Yeah.
And ninjas on hover bikes are just better.
Yeah.
So this is a specialist. It's a cost 2 grunt. It has pretty good stats for attacking and moving and defense for all that. But what it really does is it gives you a high-speed flank. So the Protectors have had flank in the Elite Carnodon since December of 2018.
Sure.
But they haven't had something that competes with that Destructomite position of something that's mobile and can put flank where you want it.
Yeah.
So this does that and also has sprint. So it is a super, super fast flanker that can get where you want, and it can hit something effectively with its sword if it's a low defense target. And then there's a lot of hit and run type shenanigans in this faction,
Yeah.
which we're going to see a little bit more of in a second.
It has it innately, right? It can move 6 up to something, blow it up, and then sprint on to the point that it had.
But if you bring it in a combination with the right Zor, then you also have hit and run on your attack.
Yeah. It
So.
can theoretically move 12 in a single turn.
Yeah. So it's a super fast bike that can get a lot of work done, and it has flank.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people will enjoy that. The monster for this month is Zor Magna, who anybody who played original Monpoc has also seen before. She is a ninja, so you would expect her to be speed 7 and high mobility. But she's not like the other Zors because she has a built-in ranged attack. She has a blast in alpha, and the other Zors don't get their blast until they get really mad.
Yeah.
So she's a shooty monster from the beginning of the game in this faction, which hasn't happened before. As part of that, she gives guns in her units hit and run. So we've had hit and run on Brawl before, but now we have hit and run on Blast. So effectively, if you're playing both Zors that give that ability, every Shadow Sun thing you have can hit something and then move afterwards, which is really powerful for stealing power points.
Yes.
And maybe even securing buildings after you've done something. She also has a brand new cool ability called Focused Will, which is action dice manipulation. So we've seen that on some other models with ways to roll dice and get those dice back and that kind of stuff. She does it when she takes damage. So when she gets hit by an attack, she can choose to move an action die. So you want to be careful if your opponent has burned all their action dice and they can't take a monster turn, and then you do damage, then then all of a sudden you can make that choice of, do I want to take a monster turn to respond to that?
Yeah. She has really, really good action dice efficiency, especially if you put her with somebody like Titanica, who also has good action dice efficiency. It's very difficult to burn through those action pools.
And our new favorite building, the Cathedral, which we'll talk about later.
Ooh.
So she also has Power Drain on her Brawl, which is a pretty good Brawl attack. She's got 3s on her boost dice all across the board because she has Penetrator on her Blast attack. And then she has hit and run on power attack, so she can throw someone or body slam or stomp and then shift a little bit, which is also very, very, very good when you're trying to make room for another monster.
It's very powerful.
So she goes hyper, and she loses hit and run on her power attack. She keeps Penetrator on her blast, and then she gets Siphon, which is a better version of Energy Drain on her Brawl.
Sure.
So you're not often going to use your Brawl against the monster, but there are certain situations where you're going to do it because maybe it's your only way to get power dice effectively.
Yeah.
Then she gets Death Blossom, which is a big deal. So she was giving hit and run to all of her allied units that could shoot stuff, or all of her faction allied units who could shoot stuff. But when she gets really mad, she tells them all to turn their guns up, and they get Penetrator.
Yes.
So Zor
really
Magna is all about shooting and making shooting better, which is also why she's releasing with the C-types, because there wasn't really any guns in the faction. The Interceptor, I think, might have a horrible, horrible tiny gun that doesn't accomplish much.
I can't remember.
So this month is bringing a lot of shooting to Shadow Sun. She keeps Focus Will, and then she gets Rapid Fire, so she's all about shooting. She can shoot in addition to whatever else she does,
She's
she
got
can shoot twice.
one
or
of the
whatever.
best blast attacks in the game with it, too.
And then, yeah, she has Penetrator with 5 blue dice, which is pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, pretty good. It's okay.
All right, sure.
Yeah. So that's Shadow Sun for this month. That is the 3rd Shadow Sun monster and the 3rd Shadow Sun blister pack of units. People have been waiting a while for that, but the people for the next faction have not been waiting as long because it's Ubercorp, which just came out effectively, 6 months ago or less. So Ubercorp is
Yeah, that sounds
getting
right.
is getting a Ninja too.
Yes.
But they're not getting any ninjas in their blister pack, which is what we're going to talk about first. So the first thing they're getting is U-tanks. And this, I want to let you know, started entirely as a joke. G-tanks are the guard thing. The G doesn't stand for guard.
What does the G stand for?
It stands for gravity.
Okay,
Because
that
they're
makes
so
sense.
big, they have to have anti-gravity tech to
Sure.
move around and not just
Okay.
sink into the ground because they're massive. And I was thinking, the bad guys need a tank. The destroyer side of the faction needs a literal tank, a thing that's just a tank. And I wanted to make a more sci-fi tank. So I decided it was an Ubercorp vehicle. And then because it's the Ubercorp tank, I just decided that it just should be a mirror of the G tank and just be a U tank.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
The key ability on this model we've also already seen, and it's already in destroyers. So there's nothing new on this model yet, but another model that can hover is very powerful, and Snatchers are the other hovering model, and they're not in the same ballpark when it comes to capacity as what a U-tank can do.
Yeah, they're not nearly as good as taking terrain as U-tanks.
Yeah, and U-tanks also have a gun, so they kind of do the same thing G-tanks do. They sit and hold terrain, and they can shoot at targets that come at them. But since they don't have that higher defense like a G-tank, they do have a blue die.
Yeah.
And hover lets you park them on top of water.
Yeah, probably the thing that I like most about U-tanks is they start out in your area of buildings, and then as the game progresses, they can jump into that middle area and still secure a building because they move and shoot very effectively.
Yeah. And on Isle of Annihilation, they can flank. They can just drive across the waves.
It's true. Yes, they can hover right over that water, no problem. I don't
So-
know why you would, but they could.
So that gives destroyers more potential for holding annoying terrain and a cool sci-fi tank. So they're the grunt, normal, like frontline fighter in the blister. So they're also going to get an elite, and like always, it's just a commander version of the main model.
Yeah.
And then the next model is one of the weirdest ideas that I've gotten everybody to agree to.
I love this thing.
So if you're not familiar with how Ubercorp as a concept works, is they're a giant corporation that's getting a bunch of profits from the Monsterpocalypse, and they're doing that by selling defensive tech. So if the city of New Orleans says, the government's not doing enough to protect us from these monsters, Ubercorp salesmen will come in and be like, would you like to buy a Gorgadratron?
Yeah, sure.
So they do tech demos often where they accidentally knock things down and stomp around, and maybe they build a brand new showroom where they just stomp their Gorgadratron through. But the biggest thing about them is generally they don't have standard vehicles. They do have a jet, and now they have a tank. But normally they copy things in some sort of concept like Gorgadratron or Cybercon or whatever. So the thing they're getting that's a specialist in this pack is the AA8 bot. And the AA stands for anti-air. So when I was pitching this idea to people, my idea was it's an ape robot, and it's anti-air, but it doesn't do that with like big machine guns on its back or that kind of stuff. No. It does it by having chain fists that can flail around like crazy and knock everything out of the sky around
I just love the idea of just a weird looking ape thing just swinging fists all over the place.
And it's very traditional in certain media, especially movies and stuff, for giant apes to slap airplanes out of the sky. So this is a giant robotic ape, and all these are vehicles, so they're all driven by people. And it has it has telescoping chain fists. So that made writing its rules pretty straightforward. I gave it reach, and giving it reach, we dropped its speed because it's pretty impactful. I wanted to be a solid unit that was kind of hard to remove, so we made it defense 3. And then anti-air because that's literally in its name. And then we created flak field for Gorgatron because all the guns that Gorgatron has all over it. And then I wanted that same concept without guns of the crazy, noodle arms. So we put flak field 1 on this model. And that means they can spin an action die and destroy everything that's defense 1 touching it, which is vanguards and strike fighters kind of things. So this model is not 100%, but very, 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 very aimed at destroying things that fly. But it also has reach, so it can jump into combined attacks from one space away. And it's a pretty solid defensive model, so its job is to hold your background. But you can teleport it forward with other Uber tech into the middle of the field and try to play a little bit of offense with it.
It's going to be, it's a very, very good piece that's really good at potentially like removing a couple of models or knocking something off and then having something move onto it. It's very, very kind of, it's weird because it's slow, but it likes to move progressively forward, just like the U-tanks.
And the reason it's slow is because of the teleport shenanigans that UberCorp has. There was a lot of games where Faye threw one of these 8 bots all the way across the table and did all kinds of things with it. And so we slowed it down because it's pretty impactful, and I want it to be a defensive piece that you can use offensively if you need to. So was there anything from the last few minutes that the audio completely cut out on and people didn't hear at all?
Ask your questions because we did fix the audio.
So
but
the audio,
if you missed anything in particular, say it now.
So I was talking and then I realized that Tony was unplugging and plugging things in. So
No power dice from things removed from flak field. Flak field also affects both ally and enemy models. So
flak field is returning things to reserves. So just like abduct and that kind of stuff. So it doesn't kill things. It doesn't destroy them. And somebody mentioned it should have more boost dice, but it's got anti-air. And generally, things that are focused on anti-air get their boost dice targeting the things they're supposed to target. So this model would be better at fighting everything if it had another blue die, because then it would get 3 versus airplanes or saucers or monsters that can fly or whatever. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's anything that we completely missed audio-wise in the questions. So we're going to go on to the monster, which this might be one of my favorite monsters in the entire game, primarily because it is me getting to salvage old concepts. So anybody who backed the Kickstarter for the art book and got the Monsterpocalypse sketch PDF art book that I know people have been talking about has seen the original concepts for this, and we used them almost unchanged. But back in original Monsterpocalypse, the 6th wave of models was supposed to have morphers, which were the combiners for the factions. And so we were going to have things like a giant jellyfish and the ape, the weird ape with the gun arm and the exposed brain and that kind of stuff. And then
what?
You got to look at the art.
Oh my god!
Anyway,
I've never seen that before.
and this model was the combiner for that original release. And you guys have already seen, like I've said, the smaller forms, because those are what the Shinobots were. Because the Shinobots, there were supposed to be 4 of them, and they were supposed to somehow combine into a bigger version of a giant robot ninja. And so when I was going through concept art, seeing what we could salvage for this edition of the game, I came across this. And I didn't want to do the robot condo that was in the original game right away, because apes aren't as original in this edition of Monsterpocalypse, because the original 6 factions are what I kind of wanted to copy. So we got Cybercon and we got Gorgatron, and now we have Mecha Maxim. Yeah. So I'm not saying that Robocondo or whatever his name might be in this edition is never going to come back, but I really wanted to focus on one of the classic 6 factions and a model that was kind of saved from the old game that never got released. So this is Mecha Maxim, and I love everything about him.
Yeah.
So he's got Action Blitz. So he's
so good.
He's the leading the army model in this faction. So we've got Cybercon, which is about knocking down buildings and that kind of stuff, and Gorgatron, who's all about guns, and eventually when it goes hyper, he just goes crazy and shoots everything for lots of damage. And both those models can have synergies and can do things for the faction. But I really wanted to focus on this as the command and control piece. So if you're the small country in Latin America or whatever that invests heavily in UberCorp technology to defend your country, then this is the model they upsell you on as the monster that can really lead your army and be the command and control center on the battlefield.
All right.
So Action Blitz is part of that. Action Blitz lets you move models around, and it also kind of mirrors the teleport on regular Maxim.
Yes.
So it's a way for this monster to move units during the monster activation. Yeah. Mastermind is the other way that is incorporated into his concept. And that is just, if you do combined attacks, you get a bonus die.
And only one more bonus die.
You get one extra bonus die in your combined attack roll, which is good without going bonkers.
Yeah.
It's not going to let you roll 28 dice.
Yeah. It really encourages him to run like 2 Carnatrons, because they combine, they get their usual boost dice, and then they get the one more, and then they could do it twice.
Yeah.
And it's really good, like kind of like you send out modules of 2 models.
Yeah. But it also helps out the Shinobots and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Basically, anytime you want to combine units to hit a more defensive target, whether it's a building or a unit, or you want to put some extra damage on a monster, then that's what Mastermind is all about.
I'm pretty sure you can. I'm going to have to go back and read the Shadow Sun building.
So the question in the chat is, can I move through a Shadow Sun building with a jet? So they're talking about underground teleportation shenanigans with not just move through the building.
Yeah.
I believe that it works off advancing.
Yeah.
And
the only question would be, does it say during the unit phase? And I don't think it does.
I don't think it does. I think it says when a unit advances adjacent to this building, it can treat spaces as adjacent to it. So as far as I know, this is an advance, and that works off advancing, so that works.
Yeah.
One of the just weird, interesting abilities that I wanted to bring back, because originally in August and September, UberCorp released with 2 monsters, 2 blisters, a building. And the Robo-Brontox's jam ability, I think, is really interesting and fun, because there wasn't really counterplay for actions in the game originally, and now there is.
And this works a lot better on a monster because it can be so much further forward.
Yeah.
And in fact, then we made jam for Mecha Maxim, and then we added it.
Well, yeah, we concepted all of the releases for this faction up to this. 3 monsters, 3 blisters, and a building, all at the same time. Yeah. So Jam appeared first on this model, and then we were playing around with what the Robo-Brontox did and decided Jam should be on it too.
Yes.
So this is a way to counter certain buildings with actions that are really powerful, and also other models like Cthulhu can't summon things and that kind of stuff, and it turns off telekinesis around him. And on a monster, it's a lot more difficult to deal with because you can't just trivially remove a monster like you can a Robo-Brontox. And then there's a bit of a theme, not just ninjas this month, but also hit and run.
Yeah.
And we were looking for one more thing for the alpha version of this monster to do, and we were playing around with hit and run on Zor Magna, and so I really like what hit and run lets you do mobility-wise on a monster, so we put it on Mecha Maxim too. Somebody else is asking a question in the chat.
I want to get one of these from UberCorp. How much?
Oh, they're asking narrative thematic questions.
How much?
So UberCorp has financing plans. The question is, if I'm trying to defend my house by buying a monster, in the Monsterpocalypse. How much does it cost? They have financing plans, but it's more of like, I don't know, a civic
I feel like,
kind of purchase.
Yeah, this
than
is.
it is. I mean, if you happen to own a large multinational corporation based on online sales, you can probably afford a couple of these.
Are you saying that a business that's based on a particular forest might be able to buy several of these things?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And they might station one at every major distribution center.
We're talking about like 10% of a country's GDP.
No, I don't know if that
for a monster.
It's that high, but it's pretty high.
Okay.
I mean, there's significant purchases.
Okay.
But they'll work with you.
Yeah, because I mean, they'll when they're not fighting other monsters, you can use them to build stuff.
And if you give Uber Corp enough tax breaks in your Banana Republic, you can totally afford your own Mecha Maxim. Okay, so we're gonna go to Hyper Mecha Maxim now. The last card we're gonna show off in this stream. So he shifts gears from leading the force to all-out offense.
Yeah.
So he trades blitz for sprint, so he's more mobile, and he loses mastermind because he's focused on punching things.
Yeah.
So lightning attack lets this model punch a bunch. Mm-hmm. He keeps jam though, because jam's a good utility thing for the whole game.
Yeah. It also doesn't necessarily make sense that it would turn off.
Yeah.
So.
And he goes from having precision rockets in alpha mode because his range is better, to having explosion crazy rockets of just firing off all of his rockets all the time.
Yes.
Like rapid fire mode rockets. Mm-hmm. So his blast goes from being able to singly hit targets effectively to knocking out swaths of units with his explosions.
Yeah.
And because Hungerford suggested it and I liked it, we gave his power attack something really weird. So we'll show the model in a second, but you can also see from the render on the card that he has basically Zor Maxim's elbow blades, but they're attached to rocket pods.
Yes.
So it was very straightforward to say that he can easily trigger those missiles when he's doing things. And one of those things is if he throws some sort of unit.
I imagine he picks up the model, starts to throw it, but launches a smart missile with it.
No, I figure they all go off.
All three of them?
So the tank is flipping through the air at something, and there's just a swarm of missiles
right behind it,
right
in
around
its shadow.
It. Yeah.
Okay.
So he has an ability called Rocket Assist. So if he swats things, or is it? I can't read it.
No, it's just. I'm pretty sure it's just SWAT.
Okay. So when he swats units, they basically explode. You basically apply the explosion type concept to the second thing the SWAT hits, because there's so much other munitions flying around with that tank. And that's a giant robot ninja.
It's also it's the first destroyer monster to be consistent defense 9, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And in consistent high mobility speed 7. I don't think there's another one of those.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of firsts for the destroyer faction.
Yeah, but also, as you would expect, a high defense ninja-like monster with a lot of movement shenanigans is low health.
Yes,
so
definitely
Mecha Maxim
only 10.
only has 10 health. Yeah. And now we're going to look at the close cam. Unless there's questions in the chat. Let me check the chat.
There's some cool ones. I mean, a bunch of people just think Rocket Assist is awesome, and they're right. It is, especially because he can like punch a building to get the power die, and then punch a unit to send the or swat a unit with that power die they generate.
Yeah,
it's really great.
Yeah, having the ability to punch and do other things makes him very versatile when it comes to taking on multiple kinds of targets, but also getting power dice for what he needs to do in his second kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. And people yelling shark monster. Leviathan's still a little bit out.
So we normally do these previews about a month out, and every once in a while we do something like bring a model on and show it on the close cam early or whatever, but we're not going to talk about Leviathan right away. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, we got to save content for later.
Oh, people want to know more about I think the cathedral that you.
We'll talk about the cathedral.
But
in a second.
they get nothing.
Okay.
Other than the fact that the cathedral is awesome.
Yeah.
Other than
well,
that.
no, we'll throw a spoiler out at the end, but you got to watch until the very end. Like as
ouch.
Tony's fading on the audio. No, I'm kidding. I won't be
okay.
that. Okay. So, Tony, can you flip us over to our close cam? So we have giant robot ninjas.
I love those chakram that she has.
So
they're so cool.
The other thing I really like about this model is those weapons. They're not integral to her. So I imagine when she's fighting that she's flipping them. They've kind of got handles on both sides. They've got blades that go different directions.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine she's throwing these and
Yeah.
then and catching them
Yeah.
whenever she does a blast
I
attack.
figure that she has magnetic gloves and they
Yeah.
fly back to her when she has the normal like backpacky kind of weird, probably spits out nanite stuff that everybody has.
Gosh, yeah, I really love that model.
That's her. She's got the biggest weapons of any Zor so far.
She might just have the biggest weapons.
I don't know.
I can't think of anyone that has like a
Possibly.
handheld weapon that's
Possibly.
bigger than that.
And then Super Robot Ninja.
Gosh.
So
This,
yeah,
this paint job is just so stark and I love it. I love how stark it is.
that's the punchy rockets, and this is the other flexy rockets, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one of the things I really like about this model is he's got these weird canisters on his shoulders, and they're kind of like samurai armor. Like, I'm sure when the artist was drawing it, it was like, and it'd be cool if he had like these weird shoulder things. But I decided those are modular things for different kinds of command and control.
Sure.
Like when you buy this model, they upsell you, when you're,
When
your
you buy this
corporation
giant robot.
buys this giant robot, they're like, and wouldn't you also like the capabilities of broadcasting on the FM band your own commercials?
Sure.
So yeah, so who knows what's in those weird cylinders, but you can trade them out and you can put all kinds of stuff in there. Maybe there's Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean, maybe that's the jam. It's like anti-Wi-Fi.
Maybe
It's in one of those.
maybe one of those is the jamming thing. But yeah, but that is Mecha Maxim.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
So do we have any other questions?
Does Zaxor have weapons? I feel like they're part of his arm.
No, Zaxor's got weird flippers. Those are weird
Yeah, those
flippers.
are like part of his arm. Like I'm thinking
Yeah.
of like a separate
I mean,
weapon.
they are large weapons, but they're integral.
Yeah.
They're flippers.
Do we have any
So someone has a
questions?
quick question. I'm not going to read it out loud. I'm just going to read it. Squinty. No.
I mean, he might be.
No.
We can
I'll
have
have to ask-
Galamaxis be
I'll
a
have to-
space chicken.
I'll have to ask Matt. So the question is that Gallus is a word for chicken in some language, Latin or something. So someone wants to know if Galamaxis, the upcoming evil space dragon, is some sort of giant space chicken. I'm not going to confirm or deny that because one day I asked Matt what the name was and Matt said Galamaxis. So who knows?
I mean,
I'm guessing he was going
definitely
galaxy
is what he's going
not
for.
chicken.
Yeah.
But you never know.
I mean, we could tell. So the AI card deck, we could definitely tell people that we've sent it to the printers.
No, we haven't.
No, not yet.
It's in-
well,
it's-
sorry,
it's in editing.
Final proofing, right?
It's in editing.
Yeah,
It hasn't started proofing.
But it's
But
getting
yeah.
close.
But yeah. So release-wise, everybody knows that Galamaxis in Megaton Mashup is coming out. And then with him is a month of monsters.
Yeah.
So that is Blasticutter
There's
and
gonna be-
Leviathan.
3 monsters that month.
Uh-huh.
Lots of monsters.
And that's April because we just solicited that. So next month is Blobs and Green Fury. And
For
then
blobs.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to the studio paint jobs on the little guys because we've seen Globicus, but we haven't seen the absorbers and the Toxos. And I really like what Jordan and Tony did because if you don't know, Tony did some help because Jordan had to paint 2 models in the same speed as it normally paints 1. So
Yeah,
so
helped with
Tony
some base coats.
Tony chipped in and helped with base coats, and I really like that green glowing thing.
it
And
looked
so
really, really
I'm
good.
looking forward to what they do with the Toxos and the absorbers, but. In the near future after that, which hasn't solicited yet, so I'm not going to promise you release dates, is a month of building releases. And one of those buildings is the Media Corp building, the tower with the dome on top of it that we had in the old game, and was originally part of the releases for the first waves.
Yeah.
But we shifted things around and we just put that on the back burner. So that building's been around, and you might have even heard or seen things about it in the past.
Yeah.
And then we're bringing the cathedral back, which was the church from the first game. And the cathedral might be one of the most powerful buildings in the game.
It very well could be.
But the thing I love about buildings that have a lot of power is that they are giant targets also.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you have a strategy that relies entirely on one building, your opponent can generally shut it off by smashing that building.
Yeah.
And by smashing you into that building. Yeah. So the thing that is pretty solid in playtest and probably won't shift
Yeah. I don't think it's going anywhere.
is an ability called Charity on the cathedral. And it's appropriate narratively because it's a church.
I wanted
and
to call it alms, but he wouldn't go for that word because it's weird.
I wanted a more generic word that we could use in the future. And not everybody knows what alms are or can even spell it. But
it's super easy to spell.
But yeah. But Charity says at the beginning of your turn, you can push an action die either direction.
Yes.
So just like there are models with focus will and those kind of things that have some action economy, now there's a building that gives you action dice economy.
Yeah. And it's really, really very powerful if your opponent ever ignores it, because if you have a good action dice economy monster, you can take infinite monster turns if your opponent doesn't do anything about it.
But it's just one little building. It doesn't have any kind of defensive tech on it. It's just a church that sits there and does some charity work. So it's very, very easy to neutralize if you just send any kind of attack at it.
Somebody just put up an acronym for alms, and now I want to know what the acronym. Wait, there it is. Alien laser monsters. Good.
I don't
Done.
think the church is full of alien laser monsters.
I mean, it could be a church to the flying spaghetti monster.
Could be, but we don't play favorites here.
That's a valid point. We do not.
We wouldn't want to single out any one religion as being better than the others.
But yes, it also works really well with the new tournament rules that we're thinking about, and I think we're probably going to do those on the coming.
So I've said those in public.
Yeah.
I've mentioned them on lots and lots of places, Reddit and other things. And it's possible that the Crush Hour rules might get updated before lock and load.
Yeah.
So they haven't been updated since last lock and load. But if you want to play some games with what might be, because it's panning out pretty well in playtest, the finished version of the next version of Crush Hour is 5 action dice in your monster pool at the start of the game. I mean your unit pool, sorry.
Yes.
Unit pool at the start of the game. And you don't get the other 5 action dice until after your first turn is complete, and those go in your unit pool too. So there's been some concerns in the more competitive environments and in tournaments and stuff about first player advantage. So we are going to play around with first player advantage and try to push it down a little bit. But with that change will be a winner of the dice roll gets to choose first player or second player. So you'll get some ability to have a say in if you are first or second. But going first is pretty advantageous in the game. And so I'm working on ways to dial that back.
Yeah,
and right now, a 5 action dice unit turn followed by a 5 action dice monster or unit turn is still fairly effective. You can still do a lot, but it's weaker than a full 10 action dice unit turn than a full 10 action dice monster turn compared to what your opponent as a second player can do to prepare for what you're going to do or whatever.
And we'll show it off, I think, on our next staff showdown.
Yeah.
We'll be doing those rules. So if you want to see them in action,
So we're going to more than likely play test it on the next one, because I would like to get it into the live document soonish, but we're still testing and we still got other things we got to do. So I'm not going to promise when the new Crush Hour document will come out, but that's a thing we're testing, and it's a response to a lot of the community feedback I've heard for the last year or more about first player advantage in the game.
When do you plan to maybe have the errata out? I know you're
the errata. I'm not going to promise anything for errata timing anyway, but the errata is being worked on right now and is in layout as effectively today. So
It's an as soon as possible, but don't read
it's an as soon as
into
possible, but there's no guarantees
Yeah.
because of workloads and flow and everything
excellent.
when it will get posted. But that errata and crush hour are two separate things.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just the every 6 month Monpoc errata. So we're doing errata in the summer and errata in the beginning of the year. So that's just a normal thing. The crush hour change is a different schedule.
Is that before or after? Are you aiming before? Like, is it going to affect locked and load, or is it going to be right after lock and load?
I would like to get crush hour changed out well in advance of lock and load,
Okay.
but at least it'll get updated every year after lock and load.
Okay,
Because that's how we generally do things. We don't want to do things right before lock and load because then everybody coming
that makes sense.
has to completely change their stuff. Okay, so only questions I see in the chat are silly things about Gubbin appearing in Monsterpocalypse as a giant thing. So I think that we're going to be done for today and wrap things up. This has been the Dev Chat. You can tune back in tomorrow at 10 a.m. to watch Tanner and Lauren and who knows who else. I mean, there could be like 85 people in here slapping paint on things and talking about models.
I don't think Tony will put up with 85.
I don't know, it's a pretty big room. So join us tomorrow for a Get Your Paint On, and then a Hobby Hangout this week, and then a Monsterpocalypse game, I believe, next Tuesday.
Yes.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring.
Bye,
we love
bye.
you. We'll see
Wait,
you.
what?
We'll see you later.
Does this get weirdly
I just wanna
intimate
I
all
just
of
say
a
random
second?
things. I can have platonic love for the audience.